Hey, Jimbo, you ready for this deal?
Like the fuse, Cody.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, friends and neighbors. Time once again for the Cowboys of the Osage podcast with your host, Jimbo Snively and Cody Garnett. Now let's sing a little bit about it. Cowboys of the Osage, riding once again. Always got some time for a friend. And here they are, the Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum and the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop, both located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and always I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo Historian himself, heck of a songwriter too, Jimbo Snively. Morning, Jimbo. What do we got going?
Hey, Cody boy, it's a great day in Osage, man. And Cody, April 5th, we got the big Osage Bronc Days, the extreme bronc riding, taking place right here at Pawhuska, Oklahoma. And we're lucky enough to have last year's winner, Jake Finlay. And he's a great bronc rider. He won Pendleton, won Pecos. And like I say, he won the Bronc Days here at Pawhuska last year. And we're going to get into all that, talk about his bronc riding. And if he sounds a little funny, he's from the land down under, so Australia. So.
Are you munching on a Vegemite sandwich going down the road right now?
No, I'm not on a Vegemite sandwich now, but now that you reminded me of it, it sounds all right.
What is a Vegemite?
It's hard to explain, but it's more like greatness in your mouth, more or less. Let's just say that.
That's a great song, that Man Down Under. Do they play? They should play it. If they don't, they should play that as your walk-up music when you get ready to ride a bronc.
I think they might have wore that one out. I've been over here for 9 years, and I think that's what I hear every time I nod.
Okay. Well, they need to. Man, what made you come over here from Australia?
Well, they originally I got over here. Craig Layton recruited me from the high school finals. I made the high school finals for the Australian team in I think it was 2012.
Yeah.
And Craig kind of touched base with me, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do back in Australia. I didn't really have much of a plan to come over here and rodeo professionally at full time, but I knew I didn't want to work that hard at home, and I figured this rodeoing deal might not be too bad. So I don't know, my dad kind of likes to say I'm too lazy to work and too honest to steal, so bronc riding was a good alternative.
Well, tell us a little bit about the rodeo in Australia. They have a pretty good rodeo system over there, don't they, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good rodeo. There's a lot of talent back home, but you got to go far, travel a long way to go to rodeos for not a hell of a lot of money, really. It's getting to be where it's getting better for sure, but there's the money in it back home isn't just what it is over here.
Sure.
Top guys in Australia are all still working day jobs, and I thought, the hell with the day job, I might just try this out over here in the States, and I'm glad that Panhandle State gave me that opportunity, and 10 years later, here we are.
Did you go through the junior rodeo and stuff there in Australia? Did they have that kind of a deal?
Yeah, I went through the novice rodeo program in Australia, and then kind of did a few high school rodeos here and there, just enough to get on the Australian team, and ended up over here, and then went through the college ranks, and was fortunate enough to win 2 men's team titles and a college title, and then just ended up finishing up pro rodeoing.
Yeah, absolutely. I read, you was talking about the money. I did read where the champion bull rider last year in Australia won like 171,000. So that's getting better.
It's getting a lot better. I think that the PBR's injected a hell of a lot of money into it in Australia, and they've kind of picked up the bull riding. But we've the bronc riding when I left was there was nowhere. You weren't making that kind of money at all. The top guy in Australia was making 25,000-30,000 a year and traveling all over the continent to do it.
Right.
But now with the Gill Brothers Rodeo and introducing, they have the extreme broncs in Australia now, and they're really, really ramping that up. And it's lighting fires everywhere back home. I think they're getting 30 or 40 guys entered in the novice bronc riding. So bronc riding particularly is really, really growing in Australia.
Do you ever go back?
I try and make it back once a year. I haven't gone back to go rodeoing in a long time, but I helped produce the first international bronc match here last year, and that was a big hit. So we're gonna try and keep doing that, and I should get back home next year for it. So it should be good, and try and get back home in our off time whenever we seem to have it. That October, November. If I can sneak back home for a couple of weeks, I try to. But yeah, I stay pretty busy over here. If not,
were you a rancher down there? Were you come from a ranching family or a horse family?
Yeah, horse and ranch background back home. My parents had a small cattle operation there just north of Gundawindi, and they kind of raised me around horses. The camp drafting back home is kind of like working cow horse. We did a hell of a lot of that, and I guess that's kind of how I got into rodeo, more or less. Had a lot of little cow horse kids, all of us pretend making anything buck that we can, and then ended up just entering some rodeos, a few bronc riding schools, and kind of progressed from there.
Kids are kids, whether you're in Australia or the United States, isn't it?
That's exactly right. Cowboys are cowboys.
Yeah.
Seemed like an Australian saddle's different than an American saddle. What's different about an Australian saddle than an American saddle? Seems like I've seen them.
Yeah, I guess they have a little bit more knee pad to them, so a little bit more swell to them, and no horn and no back cinch usually. So I'd never swung a rope until I got over here. So
I thought
I could try and pay my way going through college, just doing a little day work and whatnot. But it's hard to show up to an outfit and ask them what this piece of rope's for.
Yeah, what's this?
Well, how the heck do you doctor your cattle out in the pasture down there without a rope?
We just got tougher men and tougher cattle, I think.
what? Just say one sick out there and you don't have the whole herd in a pen, or you need some foot rod or something. How do y'all catch it?
Yeah, I mean, you can bend them around and tail them down if you really need to, but most of the time you end up walking stuff back to the pens usually, and I kind of way rather rope them now that I've been around it here a fair bit more. I'd way rather rope them. You get to use your horse a hell of a lot more, and it seems a bit more fun.
We're just itching for a chance.
More opportunity for a good wreck for me, so that's always fun.
We're just itching for a chance to rope anything,
Right. Any excuse.
Yeah.
I don't like the way he turned his head over there.
Right.
Go stick a rope on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. and I've kind of become the same way.
Do they have any different rodeo events in Australia than they have here?
No, they still have the same traditional events. I guess they don't have the steer. They don't have the steer tripping in Australia. I think the animal welfare kind of take a hold of that pretty damn quick. But for the most part, they have everything the same.
I was just wondering if your bulldogging was like the Mexican tailing or something. Since they have a tailing event?
No, they don't. They should, though. I might have to see if we can get something like that going. Maybe we should have one of those at PRCA and get a few. There'll be a few Aussies ended up there, I'd say. We might be able to do something fun like that.
Well, there's a Mexican rodeo grounds down the road from us, and they do the tailing over there.
There we go. Yeah, I reckon that'll be all right.
But yeah, he said that they tail some down there, and I just thought, well, heck, I bet they got a tailing event that's sort of like bulldogging, but they don't got to get off their horse.
No, you do tail a lot of cattle when you go up north bull catching and whatnot. Those big feral bulls, you kind of run them down and step off and tail them down usually, and put a strap on them and catch the next one. They'll come by with a big body truck, winch them straight in, and send them to the barn.
Watching on TV, it looks like watering holes are few and far between on some of the ranches out there.
Yeah, you get up north there, and cattle kind of have to walk a long way for water. That would be nothing for them to walk 10, 15 mile a day for water, but it's kind of nothing to those cattle too. That they run a lot of eared cattle, a lot of tropical bred cattle, and yeah, they're kind of used to it. It's a tough survive, I guess.
Why do they call them rancher stations there, Jake?
To be honest, I don't know what the origin of that is, but I guess, in Australia, a station is, you have to have it a pretty big station is what is like a pretty big place to be kind of like classified as a station. But I don't know if this is right or don't quote me on this, but I know that like way back in the day that like most of those old places they'd kind of label them as stations, I think, because of the mail route. The mail route had come through there, and that was the station that they'd stop, whether it was a coach or the Pony Express would stop in there and station up, I guess.
Well, I read somewhere that the Alexandria station is 7 times larger than the biggest ranch in the United States.
Yeah, yeah. There's some really big ranches over there. I kind of had to learn to bite my tongue when I moved to Texas. You run in, go to the bar anywhere, and some guy wearing a big hat, high top boots, tell you how big his place is, how many cattle that he's seen, and I'm wet behind the ears, 19-year-old, and it's kind of hard to tell him that I've seen more cattle and more land than he's had hot breakfast. But
right.
After the first couple of times of doing that, I kind of learned a little better than that. You got to keep the Texans happy.
Yeah, especially them people in Texas, you got to handle them pretty easy. They're pretty
quiet. It doesn't take much figuring out. They'll usually tell you.
Right. Oh man.
There's a guy that came out of Australia. I don't know if it was in the 90s or early 2000s. Scott Johnston. Man, that guy was a heck of a saddle bronc rider. Good all around.
Heck of a saddle bronc rider. Yeah, he was actually one of my idols. I really look up to Scott. He was kind of, I guess you could say, paved the way for a lot of us bronc riders coming over here. It's kind of a daunting thing to show up over here with no money and a saddle and a gear bag and try and make it. But Scott was the absolute epitome of toughness too. Like they said there wasn't a bronc that he couldn't hang on to, and they said he had some mean feet on him, and hell of a good horseman. Apart, like, put the bronc riding to the side, hell of a good horseman as well.
I don't think he ever won the world, but he gave them a good run for their money several years in a row on that world championship.
Yeah. Yep.
And the all-around too.
When I was going to school at Panhandle State, Danny Etbauer told me that they were pretty hard on Scott there a few times, and that there was more than once that he deserved that gold strap and never got it. But that's taking nothing away from him. I don't think Scott would hang his hat on that either. I think he knows how good he was.
Sure.
Yeah, he was a great bronc rider.
And Dave Appleton won the all-around 1988.
Yep, the old Lone Roo. Yep, yeah, I know Dave real well. He's a great friend of mine. Dave is you can't find much more of a positive guy either.
Yeah,
he was the first guy to win a world championship, not from North America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not from North America includes Canada, United States, and Mexico.
Yeah. Outside of North America. yeah.
What about Troy Dunn and those Dunn brothers? Did you ever know them down there?
I've kind of known him in passing. I don't know him real well, but I kind of came over here pretty early in my career too. I didn't get to really do a hell of a lot of rodeoing back home, so I kind of didn't really get to meet many of those guys. But one of my great friends, Callum Miller, we travelled together since we were 15 years old, and he's a Troy Dunn protege, and he's making big moves in the PBR on the teams events and whatnot. And Troy's had probably the most influence out of anyone, you could nearly say, on the athlete side of sculpting young cowboys in Australia.
What's the biggest difference between Australian bronc riding and American bronc riding, Jake?
Well, I'd say the first is definitely the money.
Mm-hmm, sure.
The money is just over here compared to back home. It's tenfold. It's not even comparable.
Right.
And then I'd say the second is probably the quality of horses. You're going to get on better horses more consistently over here. it's not taking anything away from the horses we have in Australia either. That, you know, I guarantee you the top 10 horses in Australia could hang it in any short round, or they could, you know, they'd fit in at the Thomas and Mack even. But just you kind of just lack those B team horses, those good consistent quality horses is kind of what they're lacking back home. But again, they're growing. Gill Brothers Rodeo have imported some studs and seamen and whatnot, and they're you know, just kind of really seeing the fruits of that. Now they're bucking a lot of these American genetics over there, and that's just, I think that's helped the bronc riders too. You know, the quality of bronc riding's increased because of that.
Are the rules about the same?
Yep, same rules, exactly the same rules. Yep.
When did rodeo?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Some people think it might be a 6-second buzzer or something like that over there, but it's not. I wish it was, but it's not.
Right. Yeah. Right. Was their rodeo influenced by American rodeo to get started, or did they start on their own, or how did that all get started over there? The history of it.
Well, that's a pretty interesting question, really. Like, I mean, it's similar to like the history of rodeo in America. It kind of started with the Wild West shows, but Australia is a relatively young country in the scheme of things, and Gill Brothers family, they're the premier stock contractor in Australia without a doubt, and I think it was their great grandparents had the Wild West shows in Australia, the Gill Brothers tent shows, and that's kind of where it evolved from there, and it's pretty neat that the same family is still head honchos of it, more or less. You know, they started the Wild West shows in Australia, brought it to Australia, and kept it going till now, till this day and age, which isn't easy to do with the way the climate can get in the rodeo world, you know. So yeah, it just started from those Wild West shows and progressed till now.
What's the biggest rodeo down there?
The biggest rodeo in Australia would probably have to be. I'd nearly have to say it'd be Warwick, a little place called Warwick, Queensland. They have a pretty large camp draft with it, and Warwick Rodeo. It's an incredible rodeo. I mean, that'd probably be the largest, but the best rodeo in Australia would probably have to be any one of those extreme broncs happening right now. But to be honest, they're just getting incredible crowds like Corryong, Manson Snowy River Festival. It's a huge draw, and Australian rodeo often correlates a lot with the camp draft and stockmanship too. They kind of don't just have the rodeo; they'll run a lot of different events with it, which is pretty neat.
Are the extreme broncs? Is it part of the extreme broncs from here? Is it the same extreme broncs?
No, they're not affiliated,
okay.
Not yet. We're trying to eventually get it to that. But no, they're not affiliated, but they're not a hell of a lot different, to be honest. You know, they kind of try and run that bracket system rodeo, make it as fair as they can, and pay out for as many cowboys as they can.
It'd be cool if it got under the same umbrella. That way, the stock contractors down there, they could qualify their best horses for the NFR if there was enough extreme broncs.
Yeah, exactly. Or even better yet, like young Australians that are coming over, you can hit the ground running with some money on the books. You know, you don't just have to show up and beg and plead and get into any rodeo, driving 35 hours to get on some turnout horse that you got to go walk up on. You know, that getting those qualifications for those guys when they land here, that'd be a game changer. I think if we did that, you'd see a whole nother flood of us come over.
Not everybody knows the in and outs and the inside of rodeo. Explain to them what the qualifications are, Jake.
Yeah, so the qualifications, more or less, not anybody can enter any rodeo and get into it. For example, like we're here at Rodeo Houston right now, and they take the top 30 in the world. I think top 30 in the world for Rodeo Houston, and that's the top 30 in the world from the year before usually. So you're trying to rodeo all year to get enough money built on your books to get as high as you can in the standings. So, you know, you're seeded better to get into those rodeos. And you start doing that by going to smaller rodeos, usually less added money, and just work your way up from the bottom like that. It'd be kind of like, you know, it's kind of So like playing football, you got to play in the reserve grade before you get on the big team, you know.
Right. What's the travel like between Australia and the United States? How long does it take to get here?
Anywhere, depends where you're flying to and from, but anywhere from about 13 to 17 hours usually. So it's a long flight, I'll say that. A lot of people don't like that flight. I don't tend to mind it because I've done it so much, but once they shut the door, you can't do much about it anyway.
How'd you pronounce that hometown you're from? Goondiwindi?
Goondiwindi.
Goondiwindi. What's that mean?
To be honest, I haven't got a clue.
It's going to be windy.
Yeah. It's not that windy there, so I don't know why they called it Goondiwindi, but yeah, I don't really know what it means.
Yeah. Huh.
I should know, but I don't.
Yeah. For people that don't know, Australia's made up of what, 3 or 4 or 5 states, or do you call them states? Is that right?
Yeah, states and territories, like from Western Australia, Northern Territory, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and have a little island off the side called Tasmania, but sometimes we choose to not count it. It's kind of like you guys count in Arkansas, you know.
Yeah, that's where them Tasmanian devils come from, Cody.
That's exactly where they're from.
A lot of people go visit, from the United States. That's a good... People want to go to Australia, just as tourists. I'd like to go someday.
I'd say that's true. I bet I don't go. Probably don't go 3 or 4 days whenever somebody finds out I'm from Australia, and they all say, "Oh, that's some place I'd always want to go." And then usually they follow up with it's like, "Oh, but I don't know if I can handle that flight."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I mean, like I say, once they shut the door, there's not much you can do. But
right.
I mean, a lot of rodeo guys will tell me that too. I don't know if I can do that flight, but in the same breath, we've been in the truck for 16 hours overnight and do another rodeo too. Yeah. So I'm like, I mean, I'd rather be in a somewhat comfortable plane chair than jammed in this car with 6 of us. Haven't showered in a week and yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a lot more comfortable than being here beside these guys sometimes.
The problem is when your truck breaks down, you just pull over and you get towed. And then
Cody doesn't like to fly.
When that airplane breaks down, it goes,
Cody.
Want to ride down, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to learn to swim real quick if that's the case.
I can't swim. I got a broken shoulder right now, and I can't swim on top of it. I'll just sink right down to the bottom.
You might, I don't know. If Australia might be out for you, then I guess.
Yeah. I don't like great white sharks either, or snakes,
sure.
crocodiles.
They say if you keep them fed, they won't worry. So that's why I bring the Americans over. You keep them fed.
Do you have a lot of crocodiles where you come from in that area?
Not where I'm from. That's a lot further north. Lot further north than I am. But man, you get up there up north, and there is a lot of them up there. They lose quite a few cattle and whatnot, crocodiles each year, but not where I'm from, no.
Yeah.
A lot of snakes where I'm from, but not so much crocodiles.
A lot of poisonous snakes over there, aren't there?
Yeah, I think it's something like 8 of the top 10 deadly snakes or something like that is located in Australia. I mean, they're not too bad, but I noticed a lot of people over here can be pretty scared of the old rattlesnakes, but the brown snake, he's not going to tell you he's there, and he'll get you right away, and they'll stand up and come to you. Right. Rattlesnakes nothing compared to those snakes over there.
Right. Cody's scared of all snakes.
Yeah, I'm not too scared of them. I've worked on a few places over here, and you catch those bull snakes and whatnot, and you stick them in someone's bedroll. I always got a pretty good laugh out of that.
Yeah, we did a lot of pranks like that. I worked in the oil field for 40 years, and we did a lot of pranks like that. I always worked with several guys that were scared of snakes, and I did a lot of stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I broke someone's window out getting out of their truck when they threw a snake in there one time, Jimbo.
Yeah.
I said, I'm out of here. It was cracked, I don't know, about 6 inches, but I took the rest of it with me on the way out of it.
Well,
yeah.
What kind of work have you done here in this country, Jake? Ranch work or what? Yeah,
ranch work. I married a girl from Canyon, Texas. My wife, Janie Johnson. She's a TV reporter for the Cowboy Channel, but her family has a ranch there in Canyon, Texas, and seems to keep me pretty busy when I'm not rodeoing.
You kind of married into a historic rodeo family yourself here, didn't you?
Yeah, very, very much so. Yeah. Janie's father, he was a 4-time world champion, Clint Johnson, and
I used to work with Clint.
Makes it really hard to ride like crap on the weekend and show back up to work for him on the Monday. And I kind of know when I'm riding good and when I'm not, just by the jobs I get given on the Monday.
Yeah.
There at the Tri-State Fairgrounds, I used to work with Clint out in the arena. We used to provide the tripping steers there when they had the steer roping finals there and during the rodeo and stuff. And it'd always be me and Clint Johnson and Tuffy Thompson.
Yep.
Tuffy is she related to Tuffy too?
No, she's not related to Tuffy, but Janie's grandmother is Brenda Michael, and
goes back to Benny Binion, right?
Yep. So Janie's great grandfather would be Benny Binion. Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a rodeo family right there. Clint Johnson on one side, Benny Binion.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's
great.
Pretty neat. It's pretty neat to be somewhat close to that kind of history. It's very lucky. Very lucky to have them.
You said you're in Houston. What's your schedule like this summer? You going to go real hard, or?
Yeah, we're gonna go as hard as I can. We just had our first little girl here 8 weeks ago, so it might be harder to get out of here. It might be a little hard to leave, but yeah, I'm gonna be rodeoing as much as I can, absolutely as much as I can. We just left Houston, and we've been in Houston for the month. Janie's working there, so we just left Houston, and me and Chase Brooks are actually heading to Mercedes, Texas right now, and go to Montgomery, Alabama Saturday, and then back to Houston Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Dang. Sounds like he's on the ball.
Now you coming back to Pawhuska?
Yeah, well, we should be there in Pawhuska for sure. That's a hell of a good little bronc match. It was treated me and my traveling partner real good last year. I mean, Tegan Smith, I travel with Tegan Smith all year long, and we showed up there and cleaned them for first and second and got out of there. It was a hell of a good little bronc match.
Yeah. I remember watching it. That's a good little bronc riding for sure.
It is a good. Dakota Rodeo does a pretty good job putting that on, because it's kind of a hard time of year to get 30 real good horses together, and especially to just do it on your own. But as we all know, if there's a good horse in the country, Joe Simon's going to get his hands on it, and he'll probably buck it. So we get to get on the good ones there.
Joe Simon has his hands on every kind of horse there is, Jimbo, from a gentle pony to the worst bronc in the whole world and everything in between.
Yeah,
that man
everything
loves horses.
In between it.
That man loves horses more than anybody that I know, and I know a lot of guys that love horses, and I know a lot of horse traders. He's the biggest horse trader in the United States, Jimbo.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you don't love horses, he'll make you love one so you can buy one.
Yeah, he'll talk you into one pretty easy too. I've seen Joe Simon at a horse sale before. He bought every horse that went through the sale ring, and if you wanted to buy one, you had to go give Joe a little bit of money, and he'd let you have one. Yeah. He wouldn't let you buy him. You'd have to buy him from Joe.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Joe Simon's #1 horse trader.
You know, this is steer roping country around here, Cody, but it's quite a treat to go out there in a real close confines of that little pen out there and watch a professional bronc riding, to me.
Well, in my mind, steer roping and bronc riding, they go together just like peas and carrots, Jimbo, because
traditional events.
Well, they're the two events that started rodeo.
Right.
Every rodeo that claims to be the first rodeo, the first two events they had was steer roping and saddle bronc riding.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We went going to school over there at Panhandle State. We'd always enter Rick Furnish, and when he owned Bob's Cowboy Bar, he'd always put on the classic event over there, and I think it was the Wednesday night before the rodeo started, and there was 12 bronc riders, and we'd all get on 2 Frontier colts, 2 pretty waspy Frontier colts, and have to try and bust 2 steers. So it was always pretty funny watching us bronc riders, especially me being Australian, could barely swing a rope, but trying to get a steer on the ground. But I was glad stuff got out of your comfort zone. It was pretty fun.
For sure, I watched that several times out there at Guyman, Jimbo, and all the top bronc riders were entering it, and I always thought Mike Uthier was going to win it because he's a good steer roper and a good bronc rider, but I don't think he ever won that dang thing.
I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure if Mike won it, he'd tell us about it. I guess we could call him up right now and ask him, but I don't know if you guys got enough time on the mic or enough beeping.
Well, we love Mike Uthier up here. We're big Mike Uthier fans.
Me too.
I've known him for a long time, and I've stayed down with him at his house for a few weeks at a time down there. And yeah, honestly, it's about the most fun I ever had in my life.
Oh, he's good for some fun. I'll say that. I've stayed there at his place a few times, and yeah, you're happy to pull in, and yeah, he's happy to see you. The only time I'm ever not happy to see Mike is if he's flanking a horse, and you know you've got one of those horses of his, because usually they're big and waspy and not the most fun to get on. Sometimes he's got some damn sure enough buckers though. He sold some of those. So.
You know, there at Guyman at the rodeo, I don't know if you ever saw it, but they used to take the winner of the performance in the bronc riding and match them up against either Craig Latham, Dan Atbauer, Robert, or Billy. They'd have a one-head bronc match at the end of the night.
Yeah,
between whoever won the rodeo that night. That was way before my time, but yeah, that was way before my time. But no, I did hear a lot about that. That was I wish I could have got to see those guys get on. I'd pay a lot of money to see one of those guys get on, especially Craig. Given he did Craig, I wouldn't be over here. I wouldn't be married to my wife, so I wouldn't be a hell of a lot if it wasn't for Craig Latham. I would have loved to see him get on. I used to work with Craig every year at the rodeo at Guyman. Craig and all the college rodeo guys, they'd be in charge of the ground crew, loading everything, stripping everything, and having the cattle there. I'd work right with Craig every year, and I tell you what a fine gentleman he was, and what a great guy he was, Craig Latham.
Yeah,
he's dearly missed in the sport of rodeo.
Yeah, he had such an impact on the world of bronc riding. Just what he turned Panhandle State into was incredible, and you weren't going to meet more of a down to earth, just soul to the earth man than Craig Latham.
Hell of a hand too.
Yeah,
he was the only guy to ride 10 horses one year at the finals. Won the.
Yeah.
Everyone else rode 9.
I think
he rode 10.
one of my most cherished trips ever was I'd been over in the States probably 2 weeks, and we got to go up there to his family's place in KC, Wyoming, and started some colts and rode up the mountain and went fishing and had a hell of a good time. And I think about that trip a lot. I'd pay a lot of money to go back and do that again with him. That was some real fun.
His brother was a heck of a bronc rider. Was his brother's name Deke Latham, and they still have a bronc riding in his honor up there at KC, don't they?
They have the Deke Latham Memorial. They have that at Panhandle State during the bronc riding school. I think it's the second or third weekend of May. The week after the pro rodeo there, so the third weekend of May. And
they used to have it right there at KC at the rodeo grounds.
They still might. I think they might even have 2 of them. I know Zeke was handy enough and hell of a good enough guy to deserve 2 of them too. We used to. I think you're right. Yeah, because we'd always work that during the same day as the college final short round, and Robert would always make us go up there. Sometimes we wouldn't really want to go up there, coming from Casper's bar. You never really wanted to go get on 2 heads in the same day, especially during the day of the short round. But we'd always go up there and then make it back to the short round of the college rodeo.
That's a crazy little town, Jimbo. They got a bar there in KC. Half of the bar is a cowboy bar, and then there's a door that goes the other half, and it's a biker bar. And I see some crazy.
Nothing can go wrong there.
No. I mean, it was just like throwing gas on fire every time I was up there. There was always a bunch of bikers getting fight with the cowboys right there at the KC. Downtown KC.
At least they put a door in between them, I guess.
Yeah. That's no joke. Another guy from KC, Wyoming, old Chris Ledoux.
Yeah, for sure.
Some good bronc riders come from that town.
Yep, some handy cowboys out of that country, that's for sure.
Now they got Rio Losi, the steer roper. I think he's out of KC.
Is he?
Made the national finals a couple years ago.
Jake, you won Pendleton. What was that like to come over here and win one of the classic rodeos in America?
Oh, that was I'd really have to put that at the top of my career. That winning Pendleton was pretty big for me. I'd finished up second there twice and third there twice, and I wanted that saddle bad, and I was lucky enough to draw arguably the two best horses in the whole rodeo. I had Cowboy Fool, the JDs in the long round, and then got on the Great Black Tie of Sankey's and in the short round, and yeah, that was pretty special. Out there on the grass, all your friends only 6 or 8 foot from you, is giving a 2-1 going across there, and yeah, that was special. I think the hardest part about Pendleton for me was trying to make that victory lap in a bronc saddle. That was, I mean, that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
I got a lot of respect for Pendleton, Jimbo, because I feel like it's probably one of the only rodeos that hasn't changed,
Yep.
hasn't bent in any way to the animal rights activists. They still do all their traditional events the way they want to do them, and I just love to see that. And it's a great rodeo. They pull off in I think they pull off in a weekend what takes Cheyenne 10 days to pull off.
Yeah,
exactly right. I think it's a hell of a lot better rodeo than Cheyenne. They've just always stayed true to what they want. They keep trying to add more money so we don't have to worry about the bracket system and whatnot like that. They're always trying to look after you there at Pendleton, that's for sure.
I feel like all those rodeos in the Northwest are actually pro-cowboy, for the cowboy. I mean, I've never been treated so well, at a rodeo as pretty much every one of them rodeos up in the Northwest. They got the best, best whiskey, the best.
I think
it's just
I
a
think
good time up there.
The best set of committees is usually up there in that Northwest. Yeah. And yeah, I'm not sure why that is, to be honest, but boy, we appreciate him, because by the time you get to the Northwest, you're usually sore, tired, wore out, and sick of being in the truck, and you're kind of happy to pull in any one of those little rodeos.
Yeah. When you go to the Northwest that time of year, it's usually you either have to go because you're somewhere on the bubble, and it's just a long ways up there. And they do treat you good, even at Pendleton. If you bring a horse up, if you're in the timed event, Jimbo, they give you free grain and free hay for your horses. I mean, holy moly, I've never been anywhere where they take care of you that well.
Yeah. Right.
No, their hospitality at all those little rodeos is incredible, whether it's Hermiston or Pendleton or any of them. They're good committees, and it's cool to see all those committees quite often work together. It's nothing to see the same guy running the gate at Pendleton as he is at Hermiston or Walla Walla or something like that,
I heard they had something up there at Pendleton called the Letter Buck Room, Cody. I know you don't know anything about her.
I've been in it, but I don't remember much about it, Jimbo. I think last time I was in the Letter Buck Room, this is a horrible story. I thought it was about midnight when I walked out, and it was like 1 p.m, and it was after the slack, and I just went out and sat in the grandstands, and I threw up right there.
Boy.
It was just
that letter buck room. It's tough. You can be tough on a guy, but that's another good thing about Pendleton. If you draw like crap or you ride like crap, well, you can still go to the letter buck room and have a pretty good time.
There's a pretty big chance that your hat's going to get like a hole bit in it, or I don't even know what all goes on. Some hats get pretty bad shape in the letter buck room, Jimbo.
Your hat's going to get stomped more likely, especially if it's your first time in there and you haven't got that thing sucked down. I've fallen victim to a few hats there in Pendleton, I'll say that.
The first time I went, I had a fake driver's license, Jimbo, because I was only 19 or 20 years old. Idea. Well, they let me in the letter buck room the first day, but they didn't let me in the next day.
Right.
So.
Right. Well.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the letter buck room. I've been there. I just don't remember much about it.
Well. What the heck? I got to ask you about kangaroos. Was there a lot of kangaroos where you were from?
Oh, hundreds of them. I mean, it's nothing to go out in a night and shoot 80, 90, 100 of them. Like, yeah, there's kangaroos everywhere. Ground is crawling with them.
Do you remember back in the 80s, Jimbo, it was going around that McDonald's was using kangaroo meats?
I remember the rumors, yeah.
No, I mean, I've seen some. I mean, to me, it'd be like asking you guys if you eat coyote or prairie dog, I don't know. I see I seen that in HEB in Weatherford, Texas. They had organic kangaroo meat. And I was like, well, I don't think I've ever heard of a kangaroo feedlot. And so probably organic. And I usually know the guys that shoot them, and they're going to sit on the back of that truck for a while. So you guys can have at it if you're going to buy it.
Seems like it'd make a better jerky than a steak.
Yeah. I'd rather have
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon the cowboys get underpaid enough to chase around feral cattle as it is just to make jerky out of. So I think we'll just give them a lick here and there and not even worry about the dirty old brew meat.
I had a friend who went over there to run a ranch back in I think it was in the 70s. And he was there for 3 or 4 years, but he said he drove up on a big old kangaroo one time at a water hole, and he thought it was sick. It was just humped up there, and he thought the other is about to die. And he walked up there, the fence post was going to put it out of its misery, and said that thing like to beat him to death. It come to life and kicked him and everything else.
Yeah, they're pretty tough. They'll get a hold of your dogs, and they'll make short work of a dog, I'll say that.
I've been seeing they've been popping up like on my Facebook feed and stuff like that. Some of these kangaroos are ripped, man. They look like a bodybuilder. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. That it would be nothing to see a kangaroo that stands 5 foot tall.
Yeah, wow. Crazy.
Pecos. I bet that was a good rodeo to win. That's another one of my favorite rodeos of all time, Jimbo. Pecos, Texas. I don't know why, but it always has been.
Well, it's just old traditional rodeo. I don't know.
That is a good old traditional rodeo. That's a good way to put it. It's easily the hottest, whether rodeoing in Australia or over here. It's easily the hottest rodeo in the States, in my mind, in the world. That's standing on the back of the buck and shoots, and it's 95 degrees, and you're just sweating through your shafts there. That's hot. About take the skin off if the wind's blowing and that sand picks up too. But that's a hell of a good rodeo. Good committee there too.
Outside of the rodeo grounds, anywhere besides in the arena, it's like walking in baby powder. Every time you take a step, just a poof of dust comes up from underneath your boot. I mean, and it's fine too, like baby powder, Jimbo. Yeah. It's but I love that rodeo. Something about it. It's just and
they still trip steers in the turf there too, don't they? Yeah,
they do. It's
yeah, that's neat. Yeah.
They've been a big steer roping rodeo. I used to love it because it was during the 4th of July growing up, Jimbo, and fireworks were illegal where I grew up in Kansas because all the farmland around, they didn't want the crops burning up. But they weren't illegal in Pecos, so I'd save my money up all dang year and stock up on firecrackers down there. Jake, do you take your family rodeoing with you?
Not particularly, no, because Jamie's usually on the road herself. She's either ended up in the barrel race somewhere, or she's working working rodeos. Like last year, she worked Calgary, Salt Lake, and Houston, San Antonio sometimes, and so we kind of don't really get to travel together too much. Usually, if she's going to come with me, she'll fly up to the Northwest and kind of jump in with me there and help me drive home. Those Northwest rodeos, you always kind of hang out for a few days in between each of them, so it's a pretty good time. But I think it might change up a little bit this year. I don't know if I'll be able to stay away from that little girl for very long, so I'd say I'll have to pack up and come with me.
It makes it tough.
Janie does a great job. She's everybody's favorite.
Yeah, I'd have to say she's number one commentator at the Cowboy Channel. She knows what's going on. She's got a great voice. She's got a great look to her. I mean, everything
her
about
smile, just everything.
Everything about her is just real pleasant.
Yeah, she just genuinely. Yeah, she just genuinely enjoys telling the Cowboys side of the story, more or less. She wants. Every time she goes up there, she strives to tell the crowd something about the Cowboy that they don't know. That's kind of her attitude towards it, and I'd say I've never seen her fail, I'll say that.
Well, she's very knowledgeable, and she comes from one heck of a rodeo family, and just everything about her. You got a real catch there. Good job, Jake.
Yeah, you did.
Hello.
You went way above your head there for sure.
Yeah. Did we lose you?
Well, Jake, you there?
Hello?
We're fixing to wrap her up anyway. Can you hear us? Anyway,
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear us now? I'm just gonna hang up on him, Jimbo.
Yeah.
You know, that was a great podcast.
It
Jimbo.
was. It was. Boy, you love that accent. Wouldn't it be neat to be able to talk like that?
I know. I'd probably have 10 or 12 kids instead of
You would. You'd
How many
have
I
a bunch
have?
of them you could talk like that.
If I could dance or talk like an Australian,
Yeah.
who knows how popular I'd been with the
There's no
ladies
telling.
back in the day,
There's
Jimbo.
no telling. It'd be dangerous.
I tell you what, I want to wish Jake good luck down in Houston.
Yeah.
Everywhere else he's going.
Yeah.
He's got a full
And-
plate.
Yeah, and we'll see him here at the bronc riding days. Everybody come out for the bronc days. It's really a good bronc ride, and it's a small, like I said, a small venue. You're just right on top of the action. Those broncs will kick dirt in your drink if you're not careful.
Yeah, I got some. Here we go. I got some particulars on it, Jimbo. It's going to be Saturday, April 5th, 7:30 p.m. at the Osage County Fairgrounds.
Right.
Immediately following the bronc days, the bronc match, over at the Osage Casino, they have Caden Gillard, former PRCA bull rider and a Nashville recording artist, going to be the official Huey after party for the Osage Bronc Days right here in Pawhuska.
Wow.
So, and if you haven't been to Pawhuska, there's a great casino down there. They got nice rooms. They got a good restaurant, lots of Airbnbs. This is going to be quite the time to come to Pawhuska and watch a good bronc ride. And the top bronc riders in the world are going to be here.
Right.
Some of the top broncs in the world, NFR broncs, are going to be here.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cody's going to be here.
I'll be here. Jimbo will be there, probably, maybe, if I can talk him into leaving the house that evening.
Come see us at the museum while you're here, for sure.
Yeah, come check the museum out, buy some turquoise jewelry while you're here, watch a bronc riding. That sounds like a hell of a
That
weekend.
is a good weekend.
It is a good weekend.
Can't beat that.
I think I'm gonna go.
I think I'm going to go too now. You
Gosh,
mentioned
dang.
it. You talked me into it, Cody.
I only live a half mile from there, but
Right.
but anyway, Jake, we wish you luck, man, and you did marry a good wife there. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of his wife too.
Yeah, he did good.
I mean, she's literally the best commentator on the Cowboy Channel, I
Right.
feel like. And I'm good friends with Justin McKee.
Yeah.
But there's Jake calling back.
Okay.
Jake, are you there? Hold on. 1 second here. I got to turn on my Bluetooth. Can you hear us now? Well, we're having all kind of technical difficulties today, so I guess we're just going to call it, Jimbo.
Call it.
Come to the bronc riding, April 5th, 7:30 p.m. Jake's trying to call us back. We're having all kind of technical difficulties, and we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for listening.
Later. Just talk to him the old-fashioned way, Cody.